But today, I want to focus on the very community at the centre of this terror incident, our Jewish community. Today, on what should mark the third night of Hanukkah, people continue to mourn the loss of loved ones. Rebecca Davis is a journalist and the media editor at the Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council. She says, like many Jews in Australia, this attack hits so close to home.
The last 24 hours has been completely devastating. I'm not quite sure I've actually found the words that accurately convey the horror that the Jewish community have felt, that I felt on a personal level. You know, I was sitting there just on the couch, chilling out on a Sunday night, as you do, next to my mum when the footage started rolling in on my phone. And there was no censorship about it. And seeing Jews hunted on Bondi Beach, I'm shaking just talking about it now, actually, because it was just the most harrowing footage to see, but unfortunately not entirely unexpected, because we've seen such an increase in the sentiment of anti-Semitism in Australia over the past couple of years. And this is what we were all so afraid of.
What are the conversations that you've been having with your family, your friends? You mentioned your mum there, and your colleagues as well since this has happened.
Yeah, I mean, we just sat in disbelief, my mum and I, and then we just grabbed each other and we embraced. And then coming into my office this morning with my colleagues, everyone was quietly working but would come out and just look at each other and glassy eyes and just embrace the hug. And there's just no words. There's just no words at the moment. We're all checking in on each other. We're all sending messages to friends, loved ones, even people that we're not so close with, but we know it's a small community. The Jewish community is only 120,000 people in Australia, which, to put that in kind of terms that make it understandable, is the MCG when it's full and people standing on the ground. We're a very, very small minority. And so everyone knows of someone who has been directly affected. And so it was harrowing as the news was coming through last night, and the news still continues to. You don't want to jump and believe rumours, but there was different eyewitness accounts that were coming through of victims, people who have been shot, and you're trying to understand if any of your loved ones are amongst that, any friends. One of my colleagues was grazed with a bullet. One of my former colleagues was also grazed. To say it hits close to home doesn't even do it justice.
There's been a lot of calls, Rebecca, for unity in our community. There's been a lot of calls for calm at the moment as well. What does unity look like to you in the wake of something like this happening?
Unity to me looks like everyone coming together, everyday Australians with the Jewish community. And I think that that's something that the Jewish community has felt an absence of in the past couple of years. I myself, as a journalist, I've written about anti-Semitism for most of my professional life, just on 10 years. And I've documented and the increase that I've seen over that time. But once October 7 happened, 2023, we saw a real surge, and it became very serious very quickly. And if we learn anything from history, we understand that words lead to action, words lead to violence. And when left unchecked and when left without serious leadership in every level of our society, from the government through to state leadership, in our police forces, in every sphere of Australian society, creative, business, healthcare, education, when hate is left unchecked and it's left to fester, it becomes violence. And this is what we're also afraid of. Just 12 months ago, almost to the day, was the firebombing terror attack of the Adass Israel Synagogue here in Melbourne, which was just 5 minutes down the road from where I live. And when I think about the media that I was doing at that time, the sentiments haven't changed. We were all screaming for so long that action needs to be done. It's not the time anymore for empty platitudes and for words. We've had an anti-Semitism envoy who's been appointed, and yet none of her recommendations were put into place. And yet we've seen children that have been targeted, vilified, businesses vandalised. We've seen synagogues firebombed, both in Melbourne, Sydney, Jewish property as well, cars, arson attacks. It's just spiralled, and we've seen it happen before our eyes, and we've been shouting for action, real action, to stop this. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened, and now we're looking at the murder of at least 15 Jewish people.
What do you think the lasting impact of an attack like this will have on our Jewish community? And then I guess also, as our country as a whole, we're not used to seeing these mass acts of violence in Australia. So what do you think the lasting impact will be?
You're right in saying that we're not used to seeing this. And I think that's what we've seen from history, but also seeing this increase in extremism, in terrorism. And we've been seeing that also on our streets. We've seen that in the display of prescribed terror organisations and their flags and the sentiment from October 9 on the steps of the Sydney Opera House. So I think that this is very foreign for us, but already there's been so much talk over the last 2 years of Jews actually looking at each other here saying, are we still safe in Australia? There's been many Jews that have talked about going to Israel. Now, Israel is a country that was fighting a war on 7 different fronts. If Jews in the relative calm and safety, what's meant to be, what we've always known of Australia, are looking to go to the Middle East and completely start again in a country that's fighting a 7-front war, it tells you a lot about the very real sense of fear that has existed in the community and understanding where that might go.
Rebecca, before I let you go, a lot of people, the rhetoric online has been that this is not our Australia, this is not what Australians do, and there's no place in our country for this kind of terror and horror. There's been lots of acts of heroism that have emerged since the attack happened on Sunday evening. Lots of paramedics, lots of medical staff, authorities all being involved. There's one particular video, though, that's circulating of a man in a white T-shirt, just an ordinary guy who was able to wrestle a gun away from one of the alleged gunmen. That has to be our Australia, right? That's what we should be doing for each other in times like this.
Yeah, and I'd love to see more of that. I mean, that's incredible footage. What a brave bystander. I think that's something that not just on a government and policymaker level that's been missing from this, but the Jewish community has really felt a sense of silence from the broader community that we're very much a part of, I myself, my family story, like the first Jewish member of my family came to Australia in the 1850s from Poland. It's not an uncommon story. We're very well a part of Australian society, and that's the Australia that we all thought existed. And to see that there are parts of that still exist is hopeful and amazing. And I think just on a basic human level, we would love to feel that embrace from more people. On your social media, get in touch with your Jewish friends, or if you don't have Jewish friends, just get in touch and allow us to feel that sense of embrace and to feel that you're with us. Because historically as well, I know I keep going back to history, but really we can learn a lot of lessons from it. And Jews have always been the canary in the coal mine. It starts with the Jews, but it doesn't end with us. This is a threat on all of the values that we hold dear as liberal democracy, all our Western values, all our freedoms. All that was happening were people coming together in happiness, in joy, spending time with their families, dancing. That's things we all enjoy, and that's the Australia we know and love. And it doesn't matter where you come from. We've always just come here on this hope and this dream of a place where everyone's equal and where everyone has opportunity to make whatever they want for the life themselves, what they study, where they work. And that's the Australia we want to get back to, not this division, because that's the special part of this country.